Chapter 736, Against Nature Twice, the Deification Realm. Chapter 736, Against Nature Twice, the Deification Realm. The ancestor of the ancient god clan was a great ancient god. That god possessed incredible power and was highly gifted. Every time his descendants awoke their bloodlines, some of them might gain a part of his memory. Those lucky ones had to work at the memory by themselves and could not teach others their gains. As those descendants' bloodline got thinner and thinner, only a few of them could gain that ancestor's memory while awaking their bloodlines, and that was true even of the gold-armored ancient gods. Surprisingly, Jianghu gained that memory. 3 fingers of the ancient god. Everything about that skill was now in his mind. It was one of the ancestor's most terrifying and unique skills. Only those clansmen with a high level of bloodline could master it. The 3 fingers meant 3 moves. According to what Jianghu learned from the inherited memory, each move had amazing power. By displaying the first move, one could break realms. By displaying the second move, one could extinguish stars. By displaying the third move, one could shatter the world. Thus, the 3 moves were respectively named barrier breaking, star extinguishing, and world shattering. 3 fingers of the ancient god is a really fierce and terrifying skill. Jianghu was amazed. He believed that later, after he mastered the skill, he would be able to exert extraordinary power. After a quick scan of that memory, he looked down at his body. Is this how I look after I transformed into an ancient god? Staring at his strongly built body, he found it even bigger than that of the gold-armored demon gods at over 10 meters high. He clenched his hand and could feel a mighty power gather in it. He could tell that this power was much more powerful than that of the sword heart. At the same time, he also noticed the pattern of a quadrangular star on his chest and the dark golden skin it covered. Dark golden? Jianghu was a little confused. He never heard of any ancient god in the ancient god clan who had dark golden skin. However, it did not bother him that much as it was just a small area. After some time in his transformed body, with a thought of his mind, his body began shrinking into a normal human being's. When he was back into his human body, he immediately felt that his spiritual power had been changed. I broke through a realm. He was not surprised at this. He had known for a long time ago that once those of the ancient god clan accepted their baptism and awoke their bloodlines, they would break through to the level of 1-star ancient god. That level was equal to the level of divine realm experts. Therefore, he had expected that he would reach the divine realm as well after he accepted the baptism, and in view of this, he had purposely adventured longer in order to linger in the skyscraping realm. After all, in the skyscraping realm, he could comprehend Tao and swordsmanship at a great speed, but once he broke through into the divine realm, that speed would be reduced. Now he found himself in the divine realm. That meant an overall change to his body and an increase of his power, as well as a decrease of his comprehension speed. Actually, even though his talent and comprehension would be weakened, he would still be better at it than others. Now, I've come to the second step of the heaven-defying 4 steps, Deification Realm. Jianghu narrowed his eyes. The 4 steps meant 4 realms: Heaven-treading Realm, Deification Realm, Everlasting Realm, and Eternal Supremo. Among them, the Deification Realm was equivalent to the divine realm of normal warriors. Given that the heavenly creation skill was so unique. After Jianghu transformed into a human being, he did not hurry out of the pool but stayed in it trying to figure out the difference of the second step. Soon he got the answer. He murmured with a horrified look, "After I'm in the Deification Realm, I can reach the peak of my power without limit." In the heaven-treading realm, he was best at comprehending. In the Deification Realm, he would get the most powerful battle strength. It meant that as long as he was in the realm, he could improve his battle strength without limit. For example, if a divine realm expert could exchange some moves with an eternal realm expert and not get killed, he could be regarded as an exceptional genius among his peers, and if he could kill that expert, he would be regarded as a genius of geniuses. However, very few people in the eternal world could achieve that. The fact was that no matter how powerful a divine realm expert was of his level, he could only beat down some weak and average eternal realm experts. If he could do better than that, he would have broken through the eternal realm. However, the heavenly creation skill Jianghu practiced was meant to break the recognized rules among the common people. There was no limit to his power when he was in the Deification Realm. With some opportunities he could achieve what others could not. That was to say, he could be as powerful as the top eternal realm expert someday. In that realm he could improve his power as much as he wanted. Heavenly creation skill is really incredible. Jian Wushuang let out a sigh of surprise. He raised his head and looked around, finding the clansmen all staring at him with dumbfounded looks. Jian Wushuang smiled at them, walked out the baptismal pool and came up to them. Chapter 737 Ancient God Palace. Chapter 737 Ancient God Palace. Elder Ing and other brothers, sorry to keep you waiting. Jian Wushuang apologized to them. Those who were waiting for him all stared at him with a strange look, especially Elder Ing. Her eyes flickered when she observed Jian Wushuang. His bloodline carries a strong oppressive force, a force much stronger than those of the other gold-armored ancient gods. The others looked a bit terrified while staring at Jian Wushuang. Once the people of the ancient god clan awoke their bloodline, it would emit an oppressive force from them, and the force of a gold-armored ancient god would be much stronger than that of a silver-armored ancient god. Therefore, even if the latter was stronger than the former, he would still be in awe of him because his bloodline was of lower level. Those clansmen had been waiting for Jian Wushuang for so long that the first time he awoke his bloodline, they immediately felt it and were shocked. The oppressive force they felt from him was fiercer than what they felt from other gold-armored ancient gods. It has been rather long since a bloodline of such high level as yours has awoken, Elder Ing said to Jian Wushuang with her eyes sparkling. After a long silence, she let out a sigh of relief and turned to her clansmen. The baptism is ended and all of you can go back now. Yes, Elder Ing. The clansmen all headed back after shooting Jian Wushuang a glance. Soon there was only Jian Wushuang with Elder Ing. Jian Wushuang, I want to show you something, follow me. She finally spoke again. Yes, Elder Ing. Without hesitation Jian Wushuang followed her. They left the valley and then the clan. Eternal Zone was a vast land. The ancient god clan and the wild beasts each controlled half of it. Where the two territories met was the holy place of the ancient god clan, and the place had been closed since the clan lost the ancestors' trace. During those long years, no one had gotten in or out of the place. Elder Ing led Jian Wushuang to a giant mountain near the holy place, and there was a wide path leading to its peak. Walking along the path, Jian Wushuang quickly reached the peak. What's this? He was immediately attracted by a scene in front of him. It was a group of ancient and huge palaces. Between him and the palaces was a giant stone, on which 3 words were engraved, Ancient God Palace. Ancient God Palace? Jian Wushuang frowned. He had been in the Eternal Zone for more than 80 years, and yet he had never heard of the palace before. Elder Ing, what are those palaces? Ancient God Palace is the core place of our clan and also a place where our top experts are gathered. Elder Ing started explaining. This palace contains the most important and ancient 3 secret skills of our clan. Those skills are our foundation. There are over 1 million people in our 10 tribes, and only the top ones or the gold-armored ancient gods can enter this palace to study the 3 skills. The 3 secret skills? Jian Wushuang was excited. Back when he was studying the Star River secret skill, Gu Changfeng had told him that there were 2 other secret skills in their clan apart from the one he was working on. At that time he had only been able to learn the first 11 levels of the Star River secret skill and was not up to the rest of the levels and the other 2 secret skills. Gu Changfeng had also told him that only gold-armored ancient gods could practice those skills. However, now from Elder Ying's words, he finally knew that not only gold-armored ancient gods but also top experts could practice them. Jian Wushuang. Elder Ing looked towards him and spoke again. You have awoken a strong bloodline and even have dark golden skin on your chest. That's why I brought you here. Let me show you in. Thanks, Elder Ing. Jian Wushuang nodded. He could not wait to see the other levels of the Star River secret skill and the other 2 secret skills with his own eyes. Following Elder Ing, he entered the palace and in the hallway he saw some people with terrifying power. The first person he caught sight of was a bald man. The man saw him as well and grinned at him, which however made his hair stand on end. He could tell that the man was powerful enough to kill him with 1 strike. Besides the man, the others he saw along the way all made him feel fear. Those people are as powerful as 2-star ancient gods, and their battle strength have to be amazingly strong, he thought. In fact, he had met many Eternal Realm experts in the Firmament territory before, and those experts in the 3 magnates and the top sects numbered 100. Nevertheless, except for his master Shen Yi, none of them terrified him as much as these men he saw here. He even suspected that each expert in that palace could kill a group of Eternal Realm experts outside by themselves. Is this the main power of the ancient god clan? Jian Wushuang was stunned inside. Though he had seen some 2-star ancient gods in the 10 tribes earlier, he had not been able to set eyes on the really powerful ones until this moment, for these experts remained in the palace all the time. Chapter 738, Imperial Kinsmen. Chapter 738, Imperial Kinsmen. Following Elder Ing, Jian Wushuang soon arrived at the core place of the palace, a huge black pavilion. On the stairs in front of him, he saw a weathered elder sit with his legs crossed and eyes closed. If someone observed the elder just by looking, he would think that this man was not breathing and was dead, but if he closed his eyes and tried hard to feel the elder's aura, he would know that the elder was alive. Elder E. Elder Ing bowed to the elder respectfully. The elder heard the voice and opened his eyes. As the elder's eyes fell on Jian Wushuang, the latter immediately felt his mind go blank. For a moment, Jian Wushuang felt as if he was frozen inside out. What's wrong with me? He could not help being afraid. 3-star ancient god. This elder must be a 3-star ancient god as powerful as a Dao master. Jian Wushuang's eyes were widely opened. This was the first time that he had seen such a supreme expert. Although the elder was an ancient god, not a human being, Jian Wushuang knew that the elder was no weaker than a human Dao master and might be even stronger. He was so thrilled that such a powerful god was now sitting before his eyes. How could this boy's bloodline be even stronger than mine? The elder was surprised after staring at Jian Wushuang, and he immediately asked, "Boy, who are you?" He looked impassive, his piercing eyes fixed on Jian Wushuang as if he wanted to see through him. Being watched by such a pair of intense eyes, Jian Wushuang felt timid, but he was experienced, so he managed to remain calm while replying, "I'm Jian Wushuang." Jian Wushuang. On hearing the answer, the elder narrowed his eyes. Elder E, this boy is a descendant of militant warriors. A few days ago, he accepted a baptism in the baptismal pool with our clansmen and didn't get out until 7 days and 6 nights later. Elder Ing chimed in. 7 days and 6 nights? Elder G had a surprised look on his face upon hearing the words. Normally, staying in the baptismal pool for 2 days and 2 nights would be enough to awake the bloodline of a gold-armored ancient god. At that moment, Elder Ing continued, more than that, the gold-armored ancient god he transformed into was about 15 meters tall and had dark gold skin on his chest while the skin of other parts was pure gold. Dark gold? On hearing this, Elder E suddenly rose up to his feet and watched Jian Wushuang closely while shouting, "You just said that the gold-armored ancient god this boy transformed into was about 15 meters tall and had dark gold skin on his chest." Yes. Elder Ing nodded. Elder E was vacant-eyed with astonishment, murmuring, "Dark gold ancient god. Imperial bloodline." Imperial bloodline? When Elder Ing heard the 2 words, she was dumbfounded. Jian Wushuang was, however, confused. What does Imperial bloodline mean? Is he talking about me? There are only copper-armored ancient gods, silver-armored ancient gods, and gold-armored ancient gods, aren't there? Lost in confusion, Jian Wushuang suddenly heard Elder E speak to him. Jian Wushuang, transform into an ancient god now. Yes, Elder. Jian Wushuang nodded. There was a burst of bloodline power inside Jian Wushuang unleashed with his will, and his body began to bulge. In just a moment, he had become a gold-armored ancient god about 15 meters tall, and surely the skin on his chest was dark gold. It's indeed dark gold. Elder E stared at Jian Wushuang for a good while. His bloodline is so pure with an overpowering oppressing force. Even I shiver under it. He does have an imperial bloodline. Though only being a small part, those with imperial bloodline are nobler than us. So many years have passed and finally, we have another man with an imperial bloodline in our clan. Haha. Elder E laughed loudly with joy and excitement. Jian Wushuang and Elder Ing were puzzled at the sudden laughter. Elder Ing was not among those seniors of the clan, thus she did not know some secrets about the clan, such as the imperial bloodline. A noble with imperial bloodline has appeared again. Why are you old guys still staying inside? Elder E suddenly turned back and shouted at the palace. His voice echoed throughout the whole place, however, only a few people in the palace could hear it. Those people were the ones who had lived for a really long time in the clan. Imperial bloodline? The direct descendant of His Majesty has finally appeared? As another loud voice echoed from the underground, the ground where Jian Wushuang stood on started shaking wildly. What's going on? Jian Wushuang was startled and looked around. Seeing the sudden change, the clansmen inside the palace were also amazed. Right then, the ground was cracked open from its center, and from inside stretched out a huge palm. Then, a giant figure climbed out, who tore the ground apart like tearing a coffin that buried him. It was a gold-armored ancient god dozens of meters tall, gleaming with golden light. The god stood towering like a giant mountain, stunning the onlookers just based on visual impact. How tall and strong it is. Jian Wushuang was amazed. It is a human being. The giant figure stretched himself after turning up, making a thundering sound. The next moment, the figure began shrinking and finally turned into a middle-aged man about 2 meters tall, who rushed towards the black pavilion, approaching Jian Wushuang. Chapter 739 Secret. Chapter 739 Secret. There was a towering mountain outside the ancient god palace. It existed for a long time in the Eternal Zone. The clansmen from the ancient god clan occasionally passed by this mountain when they went hunting. At this moment, Imperial bloodline? The resonant sound echoed through the mountain, causing it to convulse. Crack. A huge crack suddenly appeared on the mountain wall, followed by the mountain splitting in two as if it had been parted by someone. In the blink of an eye, a 1,000-foot-tall gold-armored ancient god stepped out of the mountain. At the same time, a giant figure flew out of the lake in the Eternal Zone. A stone-faced young man walked out of a mansion. In the depths of the boundless wasteland, a gold-armored ancient god dashed forward at amazing speed while ignoring the beasts on his way. The weathered Elder E, had sent out the messages in a special way. Those old monsters who had been living in seclusion all came out. Shortly after, they all appeared in front of a black pavilion in the ancient god palace and fixed their eyes on Jian Wushuang, who was also looking at these ancient gods in shock. Along with Elder E, the other 8 ancient gods all had human appearances. Regardless of their gender or age, they all had one thing in common. They were all 3-star ancient gods. 9 3-star ancient gods. Jian Wushuang gasped. A 2-star ancient god was comparable to a Dao Master. There were 4 Dao Masters in the entire firmament territory, the Masters of the 3 Magnates and the Sect Master of the Ancient Sect. Although the Ancient Sect had another 3 Dao Masters, they had already left the firmament territory. The 9 ancient gods were looking at Jian Wushuang in admiration. Imperial bloodline. He really has the Imperial bloodline. Although it's just a small part of the Imperial bloodline, that's enough. Haha, many years have passed. We finally have an Imperial bloodline clansman, but he is not strong. He has just awakened his bloodline, so it's natural that he is still weak. It won't take long for him to meet the requirement. Things are getting better. The 9 3-star ancient gods were in a heated discussion, looking surprised and delighted. Everyone, the other 3-star ancient gods stopped talking and nodded slightly after hearing Elder Yi's voice. Okay, since you don't have any questions, then I'll explain it to the young boy, Elder Yi said. Okay, then we'll all go to make some preparations. The other 8 3-star ancient gods could not help casting a fervent glance at Jian Wushuang before they left. Jian Wushuang felt that it was very strange. Boy, your name is Jian Wushuang, right? Elder Yi looked over at the boy with a kind expression, then said, I guess you're very confused now, right? Right. Jian Wushuang nodded unconsciously. What had happened just now puzzled him as well as Granny Ying. They had no idea about the Imperial bloodline, so it was not clear to them why the 3-star ancient gods were over the moon after receiving the news that Jian Wushuang had a part of the Imperial bloodline. It's normal that you're confused about it. After all, in the entire clan only we old guys know the secret. Elder Yi sighed and started to explain. As we all know, our ancestor was an ancient god who was strong enough to destroy the world. And actually, it's inappropriate to call him the ancient god. He is our king. King? Jian Wushuang was surprised. Right, he was a dark gold ancient god, the highest level, while the other ancient gods were his subordinates, who served him and followed his orders. Elder Yi continued, we're not his descendants but his subordinates' descendants. Many years ago the king suddenly disappeared and the holy place closed, so many of his subordinates there became isolated from us. Over the past years, we've tried to enter the holy place. As long as we're able to enter the holy place, we can find out the reason why the king was missing and why the holy place was closed. But the formation there was too powerful, and even though all the 3-star ancient gods worked together, we were still unable to break it. It's impossible to enter it with strength alone, so we have to turn to people who possess the Imperial bloodline. It's a pity that our king had no lineal descendants. We've lived in this world for a long time. Our bloodline has become weaker and weaker, let alone have we fostered the Imperial bloodline, so we've all felt hopeless. But now you've given us a glimmer of hope. Because you have part of the Imperial bloodline. Upon hearing this, Jian Wushuang finally understood. The Imperial bloodline could help them unseal the holy place so that they could solve the riddles, which was of the greatest importance to the ancient god clan. Elder Yi, you want me to break the seal of the holy place? Jian Wushuang asked. Right. Elder Yi nodded. But you've just awakened your bloodline, so you're too weak to break the seal. You need some time to grow up. When you become a 2-star ancient god, you might be able to succeed. Chapter 740, The 3 Secret Skills of the Ancient God Clan. Chapter 740, The 3 Secret Skills of the Ancient God Clan. 2-star ancient god? Jian Wushuang wore a wry smile. He had just awakened the bloodline and become a 1-star ancient god, so he was far from being a 2-star ancient god. Little Ying. Elder Yi addressed Granny Ying. Granny Ying was a highly respected ancient god in the 8th tribe, but in front of Elder Yi, she became Little Ying. Obviously, Elder Yi had lived longer than Granny Ying. You brought the boy here for the 3 secret skills, right? Elder Yi asked. Granny Ying nodded, saying, That's right. The 3 secret skills are the greatest foundation for our clan. Jian Wushuang, go and do some good cultivation, Elder Yi responded while waving his hand. Then the gate of the Black Pavilion opened. Jian Wushuang, go for it, Granny Ying said. Jian Wushuang walked inside without hesitation. Inside there was an open space with 3 stone tablets in the center. Each of the stone tablets was 30 feet tall, black, and made from some special ore. Many small, tightly packed characters were carved on them. Each of the stone tablets had a secret skill recorded onto them. Jian Wushuang went over to the first stone tablet engraved with the Scarlet Eye secret skill. The Scarlet Eye secret skill helps you see through reality and illusions. If someone reaches its limit, everything will be exposed to him under the Scarlet Eye. Jian Wushuang was shocked by its brief introduction. See through reality and illusions. Everything will be exposed to him under the Scarlet Eye. This was a great secret skill. Jian Wushuang continued and looked at the second secret skill. The 3 secret skills were Scarlet Eye, Star River, and Mind Controlling. The Scarlet Eye secret skill was rare. The last 2 secret skills were used for attacking. He had mastered the first 3 levels of the Star River secret skill and improved his offensive power by 9 times. He had only seen the manuals of the first 11 levels of the Star River secret skill when he was in the 8th tribe. But now, faced with the complete manual of the Star River secret skill, Jian Wushuang was rocked. 34 levels? Jian Wushuang widened his eyes, staring at the second stone tablet. The Star River secret skill actually had 34 levels. What he had seen in the 8th tribe was less than 1/3 of the complete secret skill. Each level of the Star River secret skill is able to improve my offensive power by 3 times. Now I've just reached level 3, so my offensive power became 9 times greater than before. If I reach level 11, my offensive power will improve by 33 times. However, level 11 is not the limit. If I reach level 34, my offensive power will gain a 100-fold increase. 100-fold increase. 100-fold offensive power. The secret skills in the Firmament territory often helped improve offensive power by 10 times at the most. For human warriors, 10 times was their limit. When he saw the first 11 levels of the Star River secret skill, Jian Wushuang was totally stupefied. And now he was even more shocked. It can actually help me obtain a 100-fold offensive power? This? Jian Wushuang was at a loss for words. Aided by the secret skill, the Firmament territory experts were only able to improve their offensive power by, at most, 10 times, while the ancient gods could get a 100-fold power increase if they reached the peak of the Star River secret skill. Powerful. Terrifying. This was the formidable ancient god clan. The mind-controlling secret skill was targeted at the opponent's consciousness and soul. If someone reached the elementary level, he was capable of attacking one's consciousness. Unlike the 18 levels of hell, which could pose a threat to one's consciousness and stop his consciousness for a short moment, the mind-controlling secret skill was used to attack one's consciousness and make him tingle or confused. If someone were to reach the supreme level, he would be able to attack one's soul, which was strange and terrifying. Each of the secret skills is amazing. Jian Wushuang could not hold back his praise. The demon gods were already more powerful. Now, aided by the 3 secret skills, they would be invincible. Clansmen who have awakened the demon god bloodline are qualified to practice the 3 secret skills. The better bloodline a demon god possesses, the higher level he will reach. I'm a gold-armored ancient god and have a part of the Imperial bloodline, so I'm able to cultivate it, but I don't know how far I can go, Jian Wushuang murmured. Then he sat down with his legs crossed as he started to meditate on the Scarlet Eye secret skill, which helped see through reality and illusions. As Jian Wushuang was meditating on the secret skill, Granny Ying was still standing outside with respect. Each of our 3 secret skills is profound. Although the boy has a part of the Imperial bloodline, it's impossible for him to master all of them in a short period of time. Little Ying, there's no need to wait here. Go back to the tribe. And remember, don't talk to anyone about the boy's Imperial bloodline and our clan's secret. Okay. Granny Ying nodded and then left. Elder Yi sat cross-legged in front of the black pavilion. The boy has a part of the Imperial bloodline, so it's easy for him to master the Riverstar secret skill. But to practice the last 2 skills requires a superior understanding. I wonder how long he will meet the requirement for the 2 skills, Elder Yi said quietly. Then he closed his eyes. Chapter 741, Dedicated Meditation. Chapter 741, Dedicated Meditation. Jian Wushuang was quietly meditating on the secret skill in front of the 3 stone tablets. The Star River secret skill consisted of 34 levels. It was easy to reach the elementary levels. Even the clansmen who had not awakened the bloodline were able to master level 1 or level 2. However, the further they went, the harder it became. In the entire clan, few had been able to reach level 20. As for the Scarlet Eye secret skill and the mind-controlling secret skill, it was difficult for the ancient gods to meet the requirements. Some powerful clansmen, and even some gold-armored ancient gods, would spend 10 years or even 100 years meditating on the 2 skills if they wanted to reach level 1. Jian Wushuang possessed the Imperial bloodline. If he had remained a skyscraping realm expert who had the highest understanding, it would have been easier for him to meditate on the 2 skills, but now he was a divine realm expert whose understanding was weaker. It took him 5 years to start getting the hang of the Scarlet Eye secret skill. Then he spent 8 years reaching the elementary levels of the mind-controlling secret skill. And as for the Star River secret skill, it only took him half a month to master level 10. In the Ancient God clan, 1-star ancient gods were only able to reach level 10 of the Star River secret skill. After keeping the 3 secret skills manuals in his mind, Jian Wushuang decided to leave. Jian Wushuang. The moment he stepped out of the black pavilion, Jian Wushuang immediately saw Elder Yi sitting on the ground. Elder Yi. Jian Wushuang bowed to the elder. How's it going with the 3 secret skills? Elder Yi asked. Not bad. I've reached level 10 of the Star River secret skill and elementary levels of the other 2 skills, Jian Wushuang replied honestly. What? So fast? Elder Yi was astonished but soon calmed himself. Then he said with a smile, You're worthy of possessing the Imperial bloodline. Your understanding is excellent. Upon hearing this, Jian Wushuang smiled. But actually he was not satisfied with his achievements. His talents and comprehension became weaker than before after he reached the Deification realm. If he had been in the skyscraping realm, he would have only spent 3 years on the 2 last secret skills. As for how to use the 3 skills, you can ask some ancient gods in the Ancient God Palace. They'll help you, Elder Yi added. Okay. Jian Wushuang nodded. He had planned to stay in the Ancient God Palace. I have lived in the Eternal Zone for more than 90 years. In 7 years this zone will open again, then I'll leave for the Firmament territory. So, I can stay in the Ancient God Palace to enhance my strength until then. Jian Wushuang made up his mind. He would live in the Ancient God Palace for 7 years. There were numerous powerful clansmen in the Ancient God Palace. Although Jian Wushuang was unable to fight against them, he was raring to go. The clansmen of the Ancient God clan were born militant, as was Jian Wushuang. Therefore Jian Wushuang started to challenge his clansmen. Time flew by in the Eternal Zone. During that period of time, he had fought many clansmen in the Ancient God Palace. Although he rarely won the fights, Jian Wushuang had never lost heart and kept challenging more clansmen. He also gained a lot from his abject failures. 7 years passed by. On the top floor of a towering pagoda, Jian Wushuang quietly sat cross-legged under an ancient copper bell, with his eyes closed and a faint smile on his face. He suddenly shook and a surge of overwhelming aura radiated out. Star River Secret Skill, Level 11 is complete. Jian Wushuang opened his eyes, which shone with excitement. He had reached level 10 7 years ago and improved his offensive power by 30 times. He had been practicing the Star River Secret Skill over the past 7 years. Now, he finally made it to level 11 and gained another threefold increase. The Star River Secret Skill was restricted to Ancient God's realm. When Jian Wushuang was a skyscraping realm expert before he had awakened his bloodline, he was capable of mastering the first 3 levels of this skill. As for his clansmen who had not become 1-star Ancient Gods, they could reach level 3 at the most. Level 10 of the Star River Secret Skill would be the limit for the 1-star Ancient Gods. The strongest 1-star Ancient Gods, even the gold-armored Ancient Gods, could only reach level 10. No one had made it to level 11. However, Jian Wushuang succeeded. This was the particularity of the Deification realm. His strength was limitless in that realm. Therefore he was able to reach level 11. He would progress to level 12 or 13 as he had great potential. Jian Wushuang. A bold voice was heard before a bald man glided in from afar. Jian Wushuang addressed him. Gu Heng. The bald man was named Gu Heng, who was a powerful 2-star Ancient God. Although he was a silver-armored Ancient God, few gold-armored Ancient Gods could match him. Jian Wushuang had sparred with him more than once, but he had suffered a crushing defeat every time. Time is up. Elder Yi asked me to tell you that the outsiders are about to arrive, Gu Heng said. Finally, it's time for me to show up. Jian Wushuang raised his head, his eyes shining with killing intent. Chapter 742 100 Years Arrives. Chapter 742, 100 Years Arrives. Elder Yi. Jian Wushuang bowed to the elder in front of the black pavilion. Elder Yi looked at the boy with a faint smile while asking, "Are you ready to fight the outsiders?" "Yes, I am." Jian Wushuang nodded. "Although they don't have much strength, they have superb skills. You should go to fight them, but you have to be careful because the outsiders are interested in our essence blood, so it will be an all-out fight if you do encounter them." "Okay." Jian Wushuang nodded again. "As a militant warrior, you have experienced such fights many times before, so I won't need to remind you more about it. Here's something for you." Elder Yi waved his hand and threw a wilted yellow leaf to the boy. Jian Wushuang received it and immediately felt the terrifying power contained within it. "Elder Yi, what is it?" Jian Wushuang asked with a confused look. "This leaf can save your life. Your Imperial bloodline is important to us, so I don't dare to risk your life." Elder Yi responded with a faint smile. "This leaf contains my finger power. If you're in danger, just tear it." "Thank you, Elder Yi." Jian Wushuang expressed his appreciation with a flicker of delight in his heart. It was clear to him that Elder Yi was really a 3-star Ancient God, even superior to a human Dao Master, so the power of his finger would be a brilliant weapon. "I've ordered Gu Heng to go with you. If you have any problem, just ask him." Elder Yi waved his hand. Jian Wushuang nodded and then left. Gu Heng had been waiting outside of the Ancient God Palace. Seeing Jian Wushuang approaching, Gu Heng stepped forward and said with a smile, "Jian Wushuang will work together this time." Jian Wushuang smiled and asked, "Gu Heng, have you fought an outsider?" "Of course I have," Gu Heng replied. "The outsiders invade our homeland every 100 years, so our clan arranges some clansmen to fight them. Aside from ordinary 2-star Ancient Gods from the 10 big tribes, our clan sometimes dispatches 1 or 2 clansmen from the Ancient God Palace. I have fought the outsiders 3 times, so this is my 4th crusade." "Oh really?" Jian Wushuang understood. "Right, you haven't brawled with the outsides, have you? Their strength is poor, but they have amazing skills." Gu Heng started to talk about the outsiders. Jian Wushuang listened attentively, but he felt inwardly aggrieved. Because after all, he also came from the outside world and could be regarded as an outsider. Therefore he had a better understanding of the skills of the human experts than Gu Heng did. Shortly after, they arrived at the Great Mountains, which stretched out for thousands of miles. They were called the Chanchi Mountains. Due to their years of experience, the clansmen from the Ancient God clan knew that the outsiders would appear at any corner of the mountains, so they waited there. Hundreds of 2-star Ancient Gods were standing close by in the void. They all came from the 10 tribes. Aside from a few powerful ones, most of them were mediocre. Gu Xiu, who had saved Jian Wushuang once, was considered the strongest among the group of two-star ancient gods. At this point they gathered in twos and threes and were chatting with each other. I heard that the ancient god palace will send someone here. As we all know, only gold-armored ancient gods or real supreme clansmen are qualified to enter the ancient god palace, so every one of them is far superior to us. I wonder which one will come here. The two-star ancient gods were looking forward to it. The ancient god clan paid more attention to strength and bloodline. Many clansmen dreamed of having access to the ancient god palace. At this point, two figures glided over from afar. Finally, two masters are coming? The two-star ancient gods widened their eyes. Those two figures quickly appeared in front of them. The two-star ancient gods were a bit surprised when they saw the bald man. Gu Heng, Master Gu Heng? Wow, Master Gu Heng came here. Gu Heng will personally fight the outsiders. Do they have any chance to survive? The two-star ancient gods obviously knew about Gu Heng's strength, so they were shocked. However, the moment they noticed the young man beside Gu Heng, they all wore odd expressions on their faces. 1 star. A 1-star ancient god? Are you kidding me? He definitely came to the wrong place. A 1-star ancient god should go to the outer layer and fight with those so-called divine realm experts. Upon hearing this, Jian Wushuang gave them a wry smile, as he had foreseen that they would have such a reaction. After all, he was only a 1-star ancient god. Even though he came from the ancient god palace, his level did not convince them. Jian Wushuang, it seems that you'll have to prove yourself. Gu Heng teased him. Jian Wushuang shrugged his shoulders with resignation. Okay, listen up, this is Jian Wushuang. Although he is just a 1-star ancient god, his strength is far superior to most of ours. Gu Heng introduced him in a resonant voice. As for this fight with the outsiders, we will be your commanders, so you have to follow our orders over the next 10 days, understand? Understood, chorused the two-star ancient gods. Although they responded in a loud voice, Jian Wushuang could tell that they still doubted his strength from their unnatural expressions. Chapter 743, The Eternal Zone Reopens. Chapter 743, The Eternal Zone Reopens. The clansmen from the ancient god clan assembled while the experts and divine realm disciples from all the sects gathered in the void over an ancient forest outside of the Eternal Zone. The three magnates, Cloud Sea Asgard, Immortal Dynasty and Boundless Demon Sect, also dispatched many experts. Although Cloud Sea Asgard had lost 7 Eternal Realm experts who were killed by the furious Shen Yi, it had not suffered seriously as this magnate was full of brilliant experts. 2 Eternal Realm experts had emerged in Cloud Sea Asgard over the past 100 years. One of them was Wu Dao, who had been set up by Jian Wushuang and had to make a great effort to save his life. That narrow escape had probably stimulated his potential. And once he returned to Cloud Sea Asgard, Wu Dao spent 70 years in closed-door cultivation until he made a breakthrough to the Eternal Realm. Now, as a supreme expert in the firmament territory, he looked energetic and confident. Wu Dao, it's your first time going into the inner layer of the Eternal Zone, so you should be careful. Unlike those in the outer layer, the demon gods in the inner layer are more powerful than us. Although they have a limited understanding of the Tao, it's not easy for us to take the baptismal pools from them. You've just reached the Eternal Realm, so you're not strong enough to fight against them. After you arrive there, go to find other elders as soon as possible. If you collaborate to fight them, you might be able to pull it off. A barefoot elder with a tender face and white hair urged Wu Dao, who nodded in agreement and did not dare to disobey his order. The experts from the other sects looked at the barefoot elder with a flicker of terror in their eyes. Eventually, an Eternal Realm expert from the Mortal Dynasty who could not suppress his curiosity asked, Yun Fan, I didn't expect that you'd personally come here. Are you going to take more baptismal pools for your people? Yun Fan was the great elder of Cloud Sea Asgard, second only to Shen Yi, who was known as the most powerful Eternal Realm expert in the firmament territory. He was also the only Eternal Realm expert who had become a silver-armored demon god through the demon god baptismal pool. Therefore, there was no need for him to enter the Eternal Zone. Acquiring one more baptismal pool would be useless to him unless he grabbed it for the other experts. Humph, whether I go into the Eternal Zone or not is none of your business. Yun Fan looked around with a frosty expression. Perceiving his sharp eyes, the other experts did not dare to say anything further. In fact, Yun Fan was drowning in conflicting emotions. he was reluctant to enter the Eternal Zone. As the Eternal Realm expert from the Immortal Dynasty said, it was not appealing to him. He had to show up here because of the order of his palace master. Cloud Sea Asgard had lost 7 of their Eternal Realm experts 100 years ago, which was a great loss for the sect. It was nearly impossible for human warriors to change into demon gods by using a baptismal pool, but 3 baptismal pools were enough, so the palace master of Cloud Sea Asgard asked Yun Fan to head to the Eternal Zone and snatch at least 3 baptismal pools to improve the strength of their Eternal Realm experts. A glum elder from the Boundless Demon sect was inconspicuously standing nearby. He was An Chao, who had crazily hunted Jian Wushuang and forced him to escape into the inner layer. An Chao was also terrified of Yun Fan. The old monster actually came. I should be more careful. This brutal and heartless old guy might grab things by any means. The ancient sect had sent 9 Eternal Realm experts here, 1 more than the last time. Palace Master Destruction was the strongest among the 9 experts. Last time I was the only one to obtain a baptismal pool, though I failed to change into a demon god. This time we have to take more pools, Palace Master Destruction said. Okay. His comrades nodded in agreement. Soon after, 2 wormholes, which were respectively connected to the outer and inner layer, appeared in the sky. Upon seeing this, the expert's eyes lit up. Let's go. Haha, the Eternal Zone, I'm coming. Demon gods, wait for my killing. Numerous Eternal Realm experts instantly stepped into the wormhole while the Divine Realm disciples glided into the other access to the outer layer. After 100 years, the Eternal Zone had reopened. At the same time, in a white robe, Xianyi was sitting in a chair on the 2nd floor of the Sword Tower while watching a streak of light float over a long narrow table next to the wall. 100 years prior, this sword spark seemed faint, as if it would die out at any time. But now it was extremely brilliant and dazzling. 100 years have finally passed. Xianyi said with a faint smile. It only took him less than 50 years to grow up to be a superior Divine Realm expert. Now 100 years have passed, which level has he reached? Let me have a look. Xianyi murmured with an enigmatic smile on his face. Chapter 744, Arrival. Chapter 744, Arrival. In the Tianqi Mountains, Gu Heng looked up to the void over his head, mumbling, "It's almost time, the outsiders are about to arrive." He immediately cried out to his people, "Gu Mian, Gu Wu." 2 clansmen walked over instantly. "You 2 stay with Jian Wushuang. The rest of you scatter and take action separately. Go." Gu Heng ordered in a resonant tone. Hundreds of 2-star clansmen immediately teamed up in 2s or 3s and glided in all directions. Gu Mian and Gu Wu appeared behind Jian Wushuang. Gu Heng looked over at Jian Wushuang, saying, "Most of the outsiders will join hands to attack us. You're good, but it's too dangerous to travel alone." Both Gu Mian and Gu Wu are 2-star silver-armored ancient gods. Their powers are not bad, comparable to the human warriors at Step 2 of the Eternal Realm. With them following you, they can be your helpers. Jian Wushuang nodded and asked, "What about you?" Gu Heng smiled and said with confidence, "Of course I'll travel alone. The outsiders won't threaten me. Even if 4 or 5 outsiders attack me together, I'm able to defeat them by myself." Jian Wushuang shrugged. He had never doubted Gu Heng's strength. Over the past few years in the ancient god palace, he had fought with Gu Heng several times and had lost badly each time. "Okay, be careful. Don't underestimate those outsiders. I will leave first. Goodbye." Gu Heng reminded before he left. Only Jian Wushuang, Gu Mian and Gu Wu remained standing there. "We should go too," Jian Wushuang said and then walked away. Gu Mian and Gu Wu looked at each other. Although they were unwilling to follow Jian Wushuang, they had to obey Gu Heng's order. Not long after the clansmen dispersed, the void above the Tianqi Mountains suddenly shook, and a surge of space waves spread out. "Is it coming?" Jian Wushuang raised his head with a flicker of delight in his eyes. "Master, shall we guard a baptismal pool or travel around to support others?" Gu Mian suddenly asked. Jian Wushuang responded with a smile, "We'll take the second option for sure." The Tianqi Mountains was the main battlefield between the ancient gods and the experts from the Firmament territory. The mountains stretched for thousands of miles, and the ancient god clan intentionally set 100 baptismal pools in every nook of the mountains to attract experts from the Firmament territory to compete. The clansmen were scattered all over the mountains. Some of them would choose to guard the baptismal pool, waiting for the arrival of outsiders. The others would travel around to trace the outsiders or support other clansmen who were in fierce fights. In fact, it could be said that the attractive demon god baptismal pool was the bait the ancient god clan put down in order to train their own clansmen. The experts from the firmament territory realized it, but the baptismal pool was too irresistible that they would take the bait without hesitation. For the ancient god clan, it would be a great opportunity to fight fiercely with the various experts. After all, they had lived in peace for a long time, so they were raring to fight to the death. The outsiders have just arrived, so they will first get together, then collaborate to grab the baptismal pool. To duel with them we have to wait for quite a while, Gu Mian said. Right. Jian Wushuang nodded, his heart full of expectation. Just 2 hours later, a mighty power was transmitted towards the three of them. That is, Jian Wushuang and his clansmen all raised their heads while seeing strange power waves radiating in all directions. Gu Mian's face darkened and said, "This is an SOS from our clansmen. If I'm right, a baptismal pool is set in there." Gu Wu added. "Oh, they've already started to attack?" Jian Wushuang replied with a glitter of excitement on his face. In the Eternal Zone, it was impossible to use messaging slips. The ancient gods live here all year round and had honed their own way to send messages. The strange power waves that emerged in all directions were distress signals from the clansmen of the ancient god clan. Once an SOS was sent, clansmen within a radius of thousands of miles would sense it. "Let's go. Hurry up," Jian Wushuang growled. The three of them instantly streaked toward the battlefield. At the same time, Jian Wushuang put on a full-face silver monster mask. After all, his identity was somewhat special, and it was better not to be recognized by the experts from the firmament territory. He was dressed in a black robe and carrying a long sword. Under the mask, his sharp eyes shone with a flicker of killing intent. The three magnates of the firmament territory: Cloud Sea Asgard, the Immortal Dynasty, and the Boundless Demon Sect. 100 years ago, you compelled me to this misery and forced me to be stuck in this eternal zone. Big brother Gu Qiong also died for me. I have remembered all these clearly. Now it's time for you to pay back." Jian Wushuang was murderous. After a while, the three of them arrived at their destination where a fierce fight had broken out. A silver-armored ancient god and a copper-armored ancient god were battling with three human experts from the firmament territory. There were 2 men and 1 woman. Jian Wushuang had even met before one of them. "It's him?" Jian Wushuang stared at the white-haired elder among the 3 human experts. Although they did not know each other, Jian Wushuang had met this elder 100 years ago before entering the Eternal Zone. This old guy comes from the Immortal Dynasty, so might be the other 2 experts. Thinking of this, an overwhelming killing intent gushed out from his eyes. Chapter 745, I will deal with the 3 guys. Chapter 745, I will deal with the 3 guys. 3 verses 2. No wonder our clansmen can't resist them. Gu Mian and Gu Wu were furious. They were about to make a move, but Jian Wushuang was blocking them. "I'll deal with the 3 guys." Jian Wushuang spoke. "Sir?" Gu Mian and Gu Wu looked at the young man in shock. "Just watch," Jian Wushuang replied. He drew his long sword and charged forward. "What should we do?" Gu Mian and Gu Wu looked at each other, debating whether to go or not. They had to obey Jian Wushuang's orders, but they also needed to protect him. "Don't worry," Gu Wu said solemnly. "Jian Wushuang is from the ancient god palace. He should be pretty strong. He wants to fight alone, let him do it. We only need to ensure his safety." "Okay." Gu Mian nodded. "Let's be prepared. If he's in danger, we'll save him." They had made up their minds. The 3 Eternal Realm experts from the Immortal Dynasty were fighting fiercely with the 2 clansmen from the ancient god clan. The 3 experts were holding all the cards. If they finished the 2 clansmen off, they would take all the pool water from baptismal pool. They noticed that 3 figures were quickly approaching. Although Jian Wushuang and his clansmen were not ancient gods, the 3 Eternal Realm experts recognized that the newcomers were not experts from the firmament territory. Shit. Demon gods. They're the demon god reinforcements. It hasn't been that long since we launched the attack. They've come so soon? Their faces fell. They knew they would be unable to deal with another 3 demon gods. "We have no choice but to retreat," the purple-clothed lady said through gritted teeth. "Okay." The other two experts nodded in agreement. They were just about to leave. What happened next was totally unexpected. They saw two of the demon gods stop suddenly. The other one, wearing a silver mask, dove forward. The attacker did not have a strong aura. One star demon god. The three Eternal Realm experts were astonished. They were familiar with demon gods. They had learned about their ranking system. In their eyes, a one-star demon god was only comparable to a Divine Realm expert. They could not understand why a one-star demon god would charge out and attack three Eternal Realm experts while the other two two-star demon gods stood by. The silver-robed man asked with a frown, "What are the other two demon gods doing?" "Whatever they are courting death, don't blame us." "Luoao, go kill the one-star demon god," the white-haired elder ordered. "Okay." The silver-robed man nodded and charged forward. He appeared in front of his opponent and thrust at him with his long black spear. Cho. The spear lashed out at an amazing speed like a viper taking its prey by surprise. It caused a swirl to appear before Jianghu Shuang, who immediately sensed a surge of killing power sweeping over. A hint of such power was enough to kill a superior Divine Realm expert. Upon seeing this, Jianghu Shuang showed a frosty smile. "Over the past 100 years I've sparred with numerous ancient gods, including two-star ancient gods many times, but I've never fought against an Eternal Realm expert. You're the first one. Let me see how powerful you are." Jianghu Shuang's eyes lit up. When the long spear was about to touch his robe, he moved and waved his emperor's sword. The strike looked simple, but it was exquisite indeed. Jianghu Shuang had given full play to the Star River secret skill and increased his offensive power by 33 times. Boom. A loud boom rang out just before the long spear was knocked away. Jianghu Shuang attacked again, stabbing at his opponent's throat. So fast. Luoao paled. He was shocked by the young man's quick reaction. He did not expect that Jianghu Shuang would strike back so quickly with such brilliant swordsmanship. "Humph!" he snorted. A mighty spiritual power gushed out from his body. A huge powerful palm materialized in front of him, slapping toward Jianghu Shuang. Shwa. The moment the long sword crashed into the palm of spiritual power, brilliant sword light radiated, causing the giant hand to shatter into pieces. "What?" Luoao was stupefied. "This boy is just a one-star demon god, how could his strength be so amazing?" "Luoao, what are you doing? Kill him." "Quick!" the white-haired elder shouted. The three experts were at a disadvantage now. Although Gu Mian and Gu Wu had not made a move, the two demon gods also posed a threat to them, so the outsiders wanted to leave as soon as possible. "Bastard!" Luoao's eyes blazed with anger as he lashed out. "Go to hell, boy." A roar reverberated through the area. Demon Heart Spear Technique. His long spear shot out, causing a harsh sound of piercing air. Like a huge spiraling awl, it darted violently toward Jianghu Shuang. Chapter 746, 6 Steps of the Eternal Realm. Chapter 746, 6 Steps of the Eternal Realm. Oh. Jianghu Shuang raised his head and watched the awl draw closer. Faced with this powerful strike, Jianghu Shuang just smiled faintly. He casually brandished his emperor's sword. Luoao snarled. His eyes were scarlet. "Go to hell." The Demon Heart Spear technique was Luoao's trump card. It consisted of 9 moves. Although Luoao had only mastered the first 3 moves, the 3 strikes were extremely powerful. But, clang, clang, clang. 3 continuous crashes echoed through the sky. Jianghu Shuang only took 3 steps back before he regained his balance. Luoao was stunned. How is this possible? Normally, even an expert at step 1 of the Eternal Realm would need to use full strength to resist his strongest moves. However, the boy, a 1-star ancient god, had withstood 3 strikes with ease. "Is that your best move?" Jianghu Shuang spoke. "Huh." Luoao was shocked. He nodded subconsciously. Jianghu Shuang sighed. "You're too weak." "What did you say?" Luoao's face darkened. A Divine Realm expert dared to humiliate him, an Eternal Realm expert. Although he had just reached the Eternal Realm, he was stronger than ordinary Divine Realm experts. "The secret skill you displayed was good, but your spear principle is poor. You haven't condensed the spear heart, so you can't give full play to this skill. 6 steps of the Eternal Realm, you might not reach step 1 of the Eternal Realm," Jianghu Shuang said in a flat toneless voice. Eternal Realm experts were considered to be supreme existences in the firmament territory. However, their strength differed. There was a yawning gap between the strongest and the weakest. It was said that Shen Yi was the most powerful Eternal Realm expert and all the other Eternal Realm experts were in awe of him. If an Eternal Realm expert had a full understanding of the 9 occults of a Tao, he would have an opportunity to break through the Eternal Realm. In other words, all Eternal Realm experts had fully comprehended an origin Tao. And even if some of them had mastered more than one origin Tao, their strength would not increase. Their battle strength depended on their comprehension of weapon Tao. The Eternal Realm was comprised of 6 steps. It was equivalent to the 6 levels of weapon Tao. Each level brought a dramatic increase to their strength. Furthermore, it caused their sword or saber techniques to metamorphosize so that their overall strength surged. Jian Wushuang had reached level 2 of Sword Heart, so he was able to make a breakthrough to step 2 of the Eternal Realm. Luo Ao did not possess the Spear Heart, which meant he had not reached step 1 of the Eternal Realm. He was at the bottom of the Eternal Realm experts. I haven't condensed the Spear Heart, but I'm still an Eternal Realm expert, far superior to you at the Divine Realm. Luo Ao was infuriated by Jian Wushuang's words. He attacked again with his long spear. Jian Wushuang looked at his opponent with scorn. Then he made a move. His sword heart shook slightly, activating 10% of its power. Now his strength had reached a new level. Secret skill, Twilight. A cold sword light flashed across the sky like a shooting star. Over the last 100 years, Jian Wushuang had made unprecedented progress. He had invented numerous secret skills such as the Netherworld, which had unmatched offensive power. Twilight targeted speed. It unleashed the fastest strikes among the numerous sword moves that Jian Wushuang had invented. The sword light flashed by ruthlessly. Luo Ao looked ferocious, his eyes blazing with fury. But the next moment he had no head. The Eternal Realm expert was killed in a single strike. What? Upon seeing this, the other 2 Eternal Realm experts who were busy fighting the 2 demon gods were petrified. Gu Mian and Gu Wu also widened their eyes. They could not believe what had just happened. With a look of indifference, Jian Wushuang waved his hand. He took Luo Ao's interspatial ring and then charged toward the other experts. Oh no! Shit. The white-haired elder and purple-clothed lady were terrified. The 2 demon gods had been difficult to deal with, but now there came another. Run, the woman shouted. I don't believe it, the elder roared. He did not try to escape, rather he turned to dive toward Jian Wushuang and slashed at him with his broadsword. Chapter 747, The Mind-Controlling Secret Skill. Chapter 747, The Mind-Controlling Secret Skill. It seemed as if the void had been hacked open, and a raspy wind-breaking sound broke in. The sound blasted into Jian Wushuang's face, but he stood rooted in place like an unshakable mountain. This guy has already produced his saber heart. He is much more powerful than Luo Ao. Yet he has merely accomplished step 1 of the Eternal Realm. Jian Wushuang murmured to himself. He hoisted his Emperor's sword up in the air, and half of the sword heart power from his sea of consciousness was instantly released. When he killed Luo Ao, he had only used 1/10 of his sword heart power. But now he was directly unleashing half of its power. Secret skill, the Netherworld. Jian Wushuang's eyes shone. He thrust out his Emperor's sword without mercy, casting out his strongest offensive secret skill. Whoosh! A bright sword light shot out. In an instant the climate changed drastically. The void in his vicinity started to tremble. Boom! A deafening rumble suddenly broke out. The saber that the white-haired elder was holding was also an eternal weapon. He used it to its full capacity. In addition, the move he performed was his strongest saber move. This attack should have been overbearing. However, when it collided with Jian Wushuang's sword light, splat! He spat out a mouthful of blood. He lost his balance and was forced to take a few steps back under the impact of the bombarding power. I'm at step 1 of the Eternal Realm. How could I, a Divine Realm expert, get crushed by a demon god? And he hasn't even turned into a demon god. The elder was shocked, unable to believe what had just happened. What the elder did not know was that though Jian Wushuang was merely at the level of Divine Realm expert, the skill he had practiced was the Defiant Heavenly Creation skill. He had a flawless foundation, and his explosive force was stronger than any Divine Realm expert of the same rank to begin with. And most importantly, he also practiced the Star River secret skill of the Ancient God clan and had reached the 11th level, so his power amplitude was 33 times higher than most people. As for most experts in the Eternal Realm, such as the White-Haired Elder and Luo Ao, their power amplitude could reach 10 times that of others at most. Despite the fact that Jian Wushuang was only a Divine Realm expert, in light of his pure power, he would absolutely not lose to anyone in the Eternal Realm. He might even overpower them. Besides, Jian Wushuang had already reached level 2 of Sword Heart Cultivation. He had stayed at this level for 20 years, which meant he had long since climbed to the peak of level 2. The only thing he lacked was comprehension of the Origin Dao. But he was only a few inches away, the gap was easy to narrow. In other words, putting aside his current swordsmanship and secret skills, his battle strength was at step 2 of the Eternal Realm. If he went all out and transformed into a gold-armored ancient god, he wouldn't even fear step 3 Eternal Realm experts. This was the strength Jian Wushuang had attained in the Eternal Zone through 100 years of earnest cultivation and countless fierce battles. A Divine Realm expert, without transforming into a gold-armored ancient god, he was already on par with someone at the peak of step 2 of the Eternal Realm. This was incredible for a human being. However, given that he had practiced the heavenly creation skill, his current phase, the Deification realm, was a phase in which his battle strength could be limitless. His battle strength could go completely beyond normal people's expectations. Accordingly, when dealing with the White-Haired Elder at step 1 of the Eternal Realm, even without employing his full power, he could still butcher him easily with only half of his strength. Run, quickly run. When the purple-clothed lady saw this scenario, she was thunderstruck as well. She let out a series of shouts and fled to the void. Run. The White-Haired Elder also lost his composure, rushed to escape. Although the strength Jian Wushuang just demonstrated utterly astonished them, they still had some assurance about making a successful flee. After all, though men from the Ancient God clan tended to excel at using power and defending themselves, they were not good at moving quickly. And their survival skills were also less brilliant. The two fleeing were both from the Eternal Realm of the Immortal Dynasty. Their survival skills were quite good. Actually, there were many experts from various sects in the Firmament territory who possessed unique survival skills. Precisely for this reason, the two had dared to step into the Eternal Zone. Even if they bumped into a demon god that they had no way of defeating, they still had the chance to run away. However, these two had obviously underestimated Jian Wushuang's capabilities. Escape? Can you really escape? Jian Wushuang bellowed. Killing intent was raging in his eyes. If the experts who had broken into the Eternal Zone were from the top sects, perhaps Jian Wushuang would have had mercy and left his opponents a way out. After all, in the battle a century ago, the top sects had not attacked him. If they had not been under the leadership of the three magnates, the whole thing would have been different. As long as I can, I won't let any of the three magnates' men get out of here alive, Jian Wushuang said, fixing his cold eyes on the white-haired elder who had just fought against him. Between the two of you I can only kill one. And I pick you. Jian Wushuang held out his palm and threw a handprint in the direction of the fleeing elder. A shot of strange energy rose up. Ancient God's secret skill, mind controlling. Buzz, an odd energy flooded out, immediately flinging itself at the elder. As he was running for his life, the elder noticed the weird energy oozing out from Jian Wushuang's body. What the hell? The elder's expression altered slightly. He had no idea what this odd energy was. But it caught up with him in no time and enveloped him completely. The elder turned pale with fright. He attempted to react, but a fit of fierce pain gripped him. This pain was so strong that he could not bear it. He let out an involuntary wail and instantly stopped in his tracks. He stood in the void, his hands clutching his head. His mind stopped working. Of course, the pain he felt only lasted a split second. Soon he regained his senses. He looked up. A jet of chilling sword light was millimeters from his neck. The tip of the sword was sinking into his throat. No. He only had time to let out his last cry before Jian Wushuang chopped his head off, as if cutting a piece of paper. The sharp power concealed in the sword edge penetrated his body and shattered his life core. Once the life core was crushed, even an expert in the Eternal Realm would die on the spot. With one hand on his Emperor's sword, Jian Wushuang watched the already dead elder fall to the ground with a note of aloofness. It's a pity I'm still in a relatively low phase. The mind-controlling secret skill I cast only influenced him for a second. If I was in the same phase as him, his mind might have collapsed directly. Or maybe I would have killed him simply with the mind-controlling secret skill. Chapter 748 An Acquaintance. Chapter 748 An Acquaintance. The mind-controlling secret skill was one of the ancient god clan's top 3 secret skills. It aimed to target the opponent's mind. If one practiced this secret skill to its fullest, he might be able to control others' minds. But apparently Jian Wushuang's present phase was too low. He had just learned the rudiments of this secret skill. Thus, even though he cast it with all his strength, he could only disrupt the mind of the white-haired elder for a moment. But thanks to this moment, Jian Wushuang had seized the chance and destroyed him for good. Now, he had killed 2 of the 3 Eternal Realm of Immortal Dynasty experts. Only one had escaped by fluke, the purple-clothed lady. Your Excellency. Gu Mian, Gu Wu, and the 2 clansmen who guarded the baptismal pool approached Jian Wushuang, their faces frightened and awe-stricken. The last time they saw Jian Wushuang, he had only been at the 1-star level. They had taken word of his strength with a grain of salt. Although they knew Jian Wushuang was from the ancient god palace and Gu Heng had once told them in person that Jian Wushuang's strength was stronger than most of the clansmen, they still found it hard to believe because none of them had ever witnessed his true strength. But now, seeing Jian Wushuang strike with their own eyes, they did not dare to doubt his strength anymore. Oh my god. That outsider was really quite powerful. If it had been me dueling with him, even if I turned into an ancient god and went all out, I could at most suppress his power a bit. But he didn't hold himself together long under Jian Wushuang's attack. And at last he was killed, wasn't he? And Jian Wushuang did all this without transforming into an ancient god, right? Gu Mian and Gu Wu voiced their admiration in hushed tones. They were both 2-star silver-armored ancient gods. Their strength was quite impressive, almost rivaling human combatants at Step 2 of the Eternal Realm. Subduing the Elder out in the open would be a piece of cake. But to actually kill him, that would be impossible. But Jian Wushuang had done it without even transforming into an ancient god. Gu Mian, Gu Wu. Jian Wushuang turned to look at them. From now on, the 2 of you can stop following me. You should go on your own adventures. What? Heir? Their expressions quickly altered. Gu Heng had ordered them to follow Jian Wushuang for all time. The reason Gu Heng ordered you guys to accompany me was to protect me, Jian Wushuang began. Now, as you witnessed, I am much stronger than you. I can travel in the Tianqi Mountains by myself. If I actually fall into a dangerous situation, you 2 won't be much help. You might even be an extra burden. Gu Mian and Gu Wu exchanged dismal looks, and both gave a wry smile. They knew that he was only telling the truth. Right then, that's settled. I'll take off first. Jian Wushuang said briskly. Then he left. Gu Mian and Gu Wu stood there, watching Jian Wushuang's silhouette fade into the distance. Jian Wushuang was walking alone in the Tianqi Mountains. He suddenly came to a halt and looked back. Seeing that Gu Mian and Gu Wu were not following him, a hearty smile curled on his lips. One day I'll leave the Eternal Zone and go back to the Firmament Territory. If these 2 from the ancient god clan keep tailing me, how am I supposed to get out of here? He said, shaking his head. At this precise moment he sensed something weird and looked out toward the end of the void ahead. A vague black dot appeared. Is someone there? Could it be an ancient god or an expert from the Firmament Territory? Jian Wushuang was intrigued. He headed towards the black dot. As he approached the black dot, its true appearance gradually became clear. Is that him? Jian Wushuang's eyes suddenly brightened, and a smile spread across his face. This smile was icy cold, as piercing as a blade. He quickly sped up and flew straight towards the black figure. He could see a young man carrying a saber on his back. He was flying slowly, his eyes cold and lofty. His clothes were a bit tattered, his face looked a little glum. It was obvious that he had just had a fierce fight. It was Wu Dao. A century prior, he had been a disciple of the Cloud Sea Asgard. But now he was an elder. Damn demon gods, they're so tough. Especially the silver-armored demon gods. Wu Dao cursed through gritted teeth as he flew by himself. He had known perfectly that he had just arrived in the Eternal Realm and could not face the demon gods on his own. Thus, when he entered the Tianqi Mountains, he had immediately joined 2 other elders of the Cloud Sea Asgard and they had started the journey together. But the 3 of them had bumped into a group of 4 demon gods, and one of them was a silver-armored demon god. The two sides instantly started to fight. Of course, the three elders were no match for the demon gods. They had been forced to flee in panic. But each of them had chosen a different way to escape, and this was why Wu Dao was now traveling all alone in this stretch of void. Those demon gods have built-in advantages. If I come across a copper-armored demon god, it will be very difficult to tackle him on my own. If I run into a silver-armored demon god, all I can do is run away, Wu Dao said thoughtfully. Based on my current circumstances, the first thing I should do is go to the contact station and rejoin the other two elders. Just when Wu Dao had made up his mind, a figure suddenly emerged in the void just ahead of him. Is that? Wu Dao widened his eyes and tried to see what it was. His expression became strange. Demon god? A one-star demon god? Wearing a mask? The one-star demon god abruptly sped up and hurtled towards him. He noticed that the one-star demon god's eyes were flickering with a trace of killing intent. You're just a one-star demon god. How can you kill me? Go to hell. Wu Dao was infuriated. His saber appeared in his hand. Raging killing intent rose up from his body. He charged directly towards the figure. Holding his sword in one hand, Jian Wushuang made a hacking move. He also performed the coordinated 11th level of the Star River secret skill to the extreme. The sword heart in his sea of consciousness unleashed half of its power as well. This move seemed casual, but its power was so overwhelming that even a man at step 1 of the Eternal Realm might not be able to sustain it. Wu Dao also thrust his saber out. He spared no effort in this first strike. A streak of sparkling saber light stretched out. It remained there for a long time before it dispersed. Its power was equally astonishing. Damn you, demon god bastard, your essence blood is mine now. Wu Dao's eyes were scarlet. He had a savage look in his face. Soon, the two figures confronted each other in the void. Chapter 749, The Scarlet Eye. Chapter 749, The Scarlet Eye. Clank. A thunderous clank sounded. Wu Dao's chilling smile suddenly stiffened. In the next moment, his smile was replaced by shock and consternation. He felt a strong force that he had never experienced before pushing him upwards. The saber in his hand was instantly tossed aside in the air. The horrible force landed on his arms and crushed them inch by inch. Then it spread to his insides. Splat. A stream of blood squirted out from his mouth. His body was thrown backward like a kite with its string cut off. His aura began to thin. He's still alive? Jian Wushuang was slightly taken aback. His attack was no less powerful than the one he'd launched at the white-haired elder. The elder had been at step 1 of the Eternal Realm, but he had been unable to avoid being seriously injured. Wu Dao was way below step 1 of the Eternal Realm. Normally this attack should be more than enough to kill him. However, it was evident that in spite of Wu Dao's unprecedented severe injuries, his life core was not shattered. An expert in the Eternal Realm would not die as long as his life core was intact. Run. Run for it. Soaked in blood, Wu Dao, whose face was too miserable to look at, regained his balance and stood up. Without hesitation he wheeled around and fled. You can't escape. Jian Wushuang growled, his face frosty. He started chasing Wu Dao. He was extremely swift, much faster than Wu Dao. Jian Wushuang was not much better than Wu Dao at running. But since Wu Dao was severely injured, there was a serious dent in his speed. Damn it. Jian Wushuang was getting closer and closer. Wu Dao's pale face became even more gloomy. I have to make a move. Wu Dao clenched his teeth, and a stream of blood surged up inside his body. The next moment, 17 figures who looked exactly like Wu Dao jumped out. A total of 18 Wu Daos appeared before Jian Wushuang. Their appearances and aura were exactly the same. It was impossible to tell them apart with the naked eye. They swiftly fled in different directions. They were extraordinarily fast. This move again. Jian Wushuang's pupils contracted. He was not surprised at all. 100 years ago Wu Dao had walked into his trap, hunted by a gold-armored ancient god. He had cast the same move in order to run for his life. But back then he could only conjure 8 doppelgangers. Now he could produce 17. His chance of survival had increased significantly. All 18 figures are exactly the same. Indeed, I cannot distinguish the true one from the others. As long as his original body is alive, it's useless to kill his doppelgangers. What a smart move. Jian Wushuang nodded. He then tittered, unfortunately it's not going to work on me. Jian Wushuang's face was stony, his eyes transfixed upon the 18 Wu Daos who were running away from him frantically. Between his eyebrows a scarlet mark emerged. It looked like a vertical crack, it was slowly widening. An eerie blood-red upside-down eye suddenly opened. Secret skill, the Scarlet Eye. A jet of blazing blood-red light shot out of the eye and swept across the 18 figures ahead. It was the Scarlet Eye secret skill, one of the ancient god clan's top 3 secret skills. It was devised to penetrate all sorts of illusions. There's his original body. Jian Wushuang targeted one of the figures. He fixed his eyes on Wu Dao's original body. How can it be? Seeing Jian Wushuang go straight for him without being disturbed by the 17 doppelgangers he'd conjured, Wu Dao lost his poise. How did he see through my original body and doppelgangers? Wu Dao found this utterly inconceivable. A sense of terror came over him. In his entire life, he had only felt this kind of overbearing terror once. It had been during the last fight with Xian Yi. Xian Yi had grabbed him and taken control of his mind. He had been as horror-stricken then as he was now. Today he was once again gripped by this terror. You have no way to escape. Jian Wushuang's icy voice sounded in Wu Dao's ears. A huge sword shadow hacked down on him. The sword shadow was so dazzling that Wu Dao had to narrow his eyes. He frantically wielded his saber in an attempt to resist the attack. But, boom! An explosion erupted. Wu Dao's body plummeted downwards like a meteorite. It landed hard on the ground, producing a huge pit that measured 300 meters across. At the center of the huge pit, Wu Dao's body had almost been blasted into pieces. His life core was also damaged, but it had not shattered yet. Wu Dao just lay there, struggling helplessly to get to his feet. Whoosh! Jian Wushuang zoomed in and looked down at him condescendingly. I assume you guys from the Cloud Sea Asgard have set up secret assembly sites in the Tianqi Mountains. Where are they? Jian Wushuang asked. When experts from assorted sects of the Firmament territory entered the Eternal Zone, they often turned up at a certain place in the Tianqi Mountains. Their messaging slips could not function in the Eternal Zone, so the sects circled out secret assembly sites to exchange messages. Humph, you really think I'll tell you? Wu Dao sneered, his eyes already filled with despair. Oh. Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. You think as long as you don't tell me I can't figure it out? Wu Dao, you just made a breakthrough and reached the Eternal Realm. This is your first time in the Tianqi Mountains. Unlike other experts from the Cloud Sea Asgards who have traveled the Tianqi Mountains several times, you're completely ignorant of the environment and topography of the Tianqi Mountains. So, you must be carrying the map the Cloud Sea Asgard drew for you. The Cloud Sea Asgard's secret assembly sites ought to be marked on the map, am I right? Jian Wushuang smiled blandly. Wu Dao was thoroughly terrified. How? How do you know this? How come you know my name? You know I'm from the Cloud Sea Asgard? And you even know I just entered the Eternal Realm? Are you a demon god? No, the demon god clan couldn't have learned these things. Who on earth are you? Lying on his back, Wu Dao barked desperately, staring at Jian Wushuang. Looking down at Wu Dao, Jian Wushuang smirked coldly, slowly took down his mask, and unveiled a handsome but stern face. Chapter 750, Secret Assembly Sites. Chapter 750, Secret Assembly Sites. You're... Wu Dao's eyes widened. He stared unblinkingly at the face before him. He was too familiar with this face. 100 years ago, precisely because of the owner of this face, he had successfully stepped into the Eternal Zone. Jian Wushuang. Wu Dao growled in a note of disbelief. No way, how could it be you? You're supposed to be dead. You should have died a long time ago. How is this possible? How could this be? He was at a total loss. To his shock, this exceptional genius who he thought had already died 100 years ago was reappearing in front of him today. And he had become an incredibly powerful expert. It should be noted that a century earlier, though Jian Wushuang was an exceptional genius, he had been too young to reach any realms beyond the skyscraping realm. At that time, Jian Wushuang might have been able to put up a fight against him by exercising all his skills and means. But over the past 100 years, Wu Dao had gained a remarkable breakthrough. He had entered the Eternal Realm and crossed the threshold of being an expert. Once he stepped into the Eternal Realm, his strength soared. 100 years ago, Wu Dao had been quite confident that he could kill Jian Wushuang with a casual slap. But now, the Jian Wushuang standing before him had cornered him with invincible strength, leaving him not a single chance to fight back. He was too powerful. The strength Jian Wushuang displayed was too powerful. He is already at step 2 of the Eternal Realm, perhaps even higher than that. He is merely a Divine Realm expert. How could he be so powerful? And it only took him 100 years to achieve this. Wu Dao mumbled to himself, his eyes growing out of focus. Wu Dao, do you still remember when you, Dao Mei and Long Tao joined hands and attempted to kill me 100 years ago? Jian Wushuang looked down at Wu Dao and asked with cold viciousness. Back then I was too weak. I had to resort to the power of the demon gods to deal with you guys, mere disciples of Divine Realm experts. But now it's different. Think about what the 3 magnates, the Cloud Sea Asgard, the Immortal Dynasty and the Boundless Demon Sect, did to me 100 years ago. Now, I'm going to make them pay for what they did at a cost 10 times or even 100 times higher. And destroying you is just the start. You're the first. It won't take long before I send more experts from the Cloud Sea Asgard to keep you company in hell. Jian Wushuang shook his hand, and a violent force pressed down on Wu Dao. Wu Dao had long since lost the ability to resist his attacks. He had no choice but to allow this force to destroy him, to crumble his life core and crash his body into dust. Ho, ho! Wu Dao's eyes were wide open, filled with terror and rage. Blood was trickling down from the corners of his mouth. It was unbelievable that the 3 magnates should have provoked such a dreadful monster in the battle 100 years ago. How much he wished he could tip off the 3 magnates, warning them to dispatch top-ranking experts and do this monster in before he could incur real disasters upon them. However, he had no chance to do so. As death descended upon him, Wu Dao caught a vague sight of the kind of outrageous mayhem Jian Wushuang was about to cause in the Tianqi Mountains and the Firmament territory. In the beginning, Jian Wushuang's battle strength had merely scraped the level of a superior Divine Realm expert. But now, just 100 years later, he was already in the Eternal Realm and could kill anyone as easily as slaying a chicken. In another century or 2 centuries or a millennium, what kind of level would he reach? Unfortunately, since message tokens were useless in the Eternal Zone, his words obviously could not be spread. After destroying Wu Dao, Jian Wushuang picked up the interspatial ring that Wu Dao left. His mind racing, he started to rifle through its contents. A moment later he found what he was looking for. He lifted a hand and a token appeared in his palm. It was the token carrying the records of a map, the map of the Tianqi Mountains. Just as Jian Wushuang expected, Wu Dao had reached the Eternal Realm not long ago, and this was the first time he had traveled to the Tianqi Mountains. Accordingly, the map he carried was a map of the Tianqi Mountains, on which several of the Cloud Sea Asgard's secret assembly sites were marked out. One of the secret assembly sites lay not far from the region where Jian Wushuang was standing. It was actually in the direction that Wu Dao had been heading. This Wu Dao looked sort of shabby. Apparently he just went through a huge fight. I suppose he got separated from the other Cloud Sea Asgard experts. If nothing else, he was going to rejoin them at one of the assembly sites. However, halfway through his journey he happened to bump into me. Jian Wushuang gave a cold laugh. If Wu Dao had been heading for a secret assembly site, that meant other experts were waiting or about to arrive at the assembly site. If Jian Wushuang went there, he was likely to run into other experts from the Cloud Sea Asgard. The Cloud Sea Asgard. Jian Wushuang's eyes were shining with excitement. He stuck out his tongue and licked his lips. Well, since I figured this one out first, I'll make it my first target. After taking a short break, Jian Wushuang set off straight towards the Cloud Sea Asgard's secret assembly site. 2 hours later, he arrived at a very ordinary canyon in the Tianqi Mountains. At first, the canyon had been unnamed. But since the Cloud Sea Asgard had made it one of their secret assembly sites, it was given a name, the Cloud Canyon. Jian Wushuang did not descend down into the canyon directly from the high void. Instead, he strode across a forest and came to stand on the top of a stone wall. He gazed down at the canyon, taking in everything. A black-robed woman was sitting cross-legged on a boulder in the canyon, quietly waiting for someone. She was quite vigilant, casting her eyes on her surroundings from time to time. Jian Wushuang had never met this woman. She was not one of the ones who had entered the Eternal Zone last time. But despite the long distance between them, Jian Wushuang could still feel her rich aura. This told him that she was definitely stronger than Wu Dao. There are many ancient god clansmen in the Tianqi Mountains, and they are all very tough and powerful. If experts from the Cloud Sea Asgard want to take the baptismal pool, they'll have to attack in groups of 3 or 4. Counting this woman and Wu Dao, I've only met 2 of them. So that means there are more experts coming this way, Jian Wushuang muttered. The woman is alone. I should attack her now. Otherwise, once the others arrive, it'll be much harder to kill them all. I'd better kill her first and then stay in the Cloud Canyon and wait for more stupid hares to crash into a tree stump. His mind made up, Jian Wushuang's Emperor's sword emerged in his hand. He slinked towards the canyon without making a sound. Chapter 751, Waiting for Hares to Crash into a Tree Stump. Chapter 751, Waiting for Hares to Crash into a Tree Stump. In the canyon, the black-robed woman was sitting cross-legged on a boulder, her eyes continuously sweeping the surroundings in vigilance. Although Jian Wushuang flew to her from behind, when he was still 100 meters away, she had already spotted him. Swish, 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 swish. Jets of aquamarine light suddenly shot out. They were as sharp as spears. At least 10 shot towards Jian Wushuang at the same time. They traveled so fast that he was instantly enveloped in aquamarine light. She, who had had her back to him, turned around abruptly, revealing a grotesque face. A hideous grin was spreading across her ugly face. Which reckless dumbass dares to throw a sneak attack on me? 10 shots of aquamarine light zoomed over. Jian Wushuang's eyes were freezing cold, the Emperor's sword in his hand stabbed forward. Half of the sword heart power was unleashed. Get away from me! A roar sounded. A towering sword shadow wielded in the air and produced several currents of wind, fending off every jet of aquamarine light. Battle strength at step 2 of the Eternal Realm? The woman was startled. But soon, a dull black stone staff appeared in her hand. Holding the staff, she gave off an intimidating aura. All of a sudden she hurled it toward Jian Wushuang. The long staff quickly swelled and grew in midair. In an instant it was the size of a mountain. It continued to propel toward him. Jian Wushuang did not panic. He pulled out his sword single-handedly. Secret skill, the Netherworld. Jian Wushuang cast his killing move. A thunderous bang sounded. The black-robed woman gave a violent shudder, and then blood spilled from her mouth too. I am at the peak of step 1 of the Eternal Realm. If I was seriously wounded by him from only one move, I'm afraid his battle strength is approaching the peak of step 2, she murmured. She quickly turned and fled. A puff of bizarre aquamarine mist rose from her body, and her speed instantly skyrocketed. Secret skill, mind controlling. Jian Wushuang clenched his teeth and performed the mind-controlling secret skill. When he'd thrown this attack on the elder from the Immortal Dynasty, he had frozen on the spot for a second on account of the pain. Now, caught off guard, the black-robed woman also sensed a piercing twinge in her mind, rendering her motionless for a moment. Although this momentary motionlessness was even shorter than that of the elder, Jian Wushuang still seized the opportunity. Secret skill, Twilight. He launched his fastest move with the sword. The sword heart power in his sea of consciousness also released 70% of its power, accelerating the speed of the sword significantly. Then, before she could react, Jian Wushuang finished her off. Yeah. After killing the black-robed woman, Jian Wushuang let out a slight sigh of relief. He turned to look at the dead body at his feet. Most of the experts in the Eternal Realm have a way to escape. If it wasn't for the mind-controlling secret skill, even if I become stronger, it would still be very difficult to kill them. Jian Wushuang said to himself. Being good at escaping was a crucial ability. Experts from the Firmament territory relied on it when they journeyed in the Tianqi Mountains. But unfortunately for them, the target of the mind-controlling secret skill was the mind. This was highly eccentric and always put the enemy off his guard. If Eternal Realm experts were not careful enough, they would easily fall into Jian Wushuang's trap, offering him the chance to launch his fatal attack. With a wave of the hand, the black-robed woman was turned to dust. After burning the corpse and destroying the evidence, Jian Wushuang slinked aside and hid in the canyon. He was waiting for more Cloud Sea Asgard experts to arrive. He did not wait long. In less than half a day, a stocky muscular elder appeared in the canyon. Jian Wushuang, who was still hiding in the dark, recognized with just one glance that this muscular elder was also from the Cloud Sea Asgard. Without hesitation he struck out again. This elder was not as strong as the woman he had just murdered. In spite of his unique way of fleeing, under the impact of Jian Wushuang's mind-controlling secret skill and Scarlet Eye secret skill, it was impossible for him to escape. In the end he was slaughtered as well. After destroying 3 Eternal Realm experts, Wu Dao, the black-robed woman, and the muscular elder Jian Wushuang decided to keep hiding in the Cloud Canyon. But apparently, these 2 were the only experts Wu Dao had joined hands with, because Jian Wushuang waited in the canyon for almost another full day but failed to spot any more. He only saw a few clansmen from the ancient god clan. Seems that the only Cloud Sea Asgard experts around the Cloud Canyon are the 3 of them, he thought. With no more prey to hunt, naturally he chose to leave. He continued his traveling in the Tianqi Mountains. Each time the Eternal Zone's opening period was only 10 days. Today was already the 3rd day. In the vast void of the Tianqi Mountains. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. 3 figures swiftly flitted across the void, each of them emitting a rich aura of spiritual power. Obviously, they were desperately running away from something by casting their secret skills to the fullest. An enormous silver figure emerged behind them. It was obviously a silver-armored ancient god. He was sprinting in hot pursuit after the 3. Usually, ancient gods were not good at running fast. However, this silver-armored ancient god was amazingly fast, even a bit faster than the 3 who were fleeing hastily with their secret skills. Nor far behind him were 2 human experts. Bastard. Among the 3 who were fleeing with all their efforts, the one taking the lead was giving off a devastating aura. This man was a palace master from the ancient sect. His name was Destruction. The other 2 were Palace Master Ming Xan and Palace Master Mo Tao. Destruction were not quite as fast as him. And we're already performing our secret skills to the fullest. This costs us a great deal of our spiritual power. Soon our spiritual power will be depleted. What should we do? Separate and run in different directions? Palace Master Mo Tao asked. Separate? Palace Master Destruction's eyebrows furrowed in concentration. If we run together we might all be killed or all survive. If we separate, one of us will definitely die. We will not separate from each other unless there is no other alternative. Palace Master Mo Tao and Palace Master Ming Xan both nodded. If they had to separate and flee on their own, it meant they had no way but to sacrifice one's life in order to save the lives of the other 2. Once they made such a choice, one of them was bound to die. But for now they were not that desperate. I've sent the emergency signal. I hope experts from our ancient sect can rush here and back us up, otherwise, Palace Master Destruction said. His face was gloomy. That guy is crazy. Mo Tao yelled, fixing his eyes on the silver-armored ancient god who was hurtling towards them. Chapter 752 Emergency Assistance. Chapter 752 Emergency Assistance. In the Tianqi Mountains. Run for your life. This guy is only a 1-star ancient god. How come his strength is so strong? I'm at step 1 of the Eternal Realm. Why was I subdued by him? Quick, cast your secret skills and run by yourselves. The 4 cast their secret skills and fled in 4 different directions. The ancient gods who had been chasing after them with all their strength quickly gave up the hunt. In terms of escapability, the human experts from the Firmament territory who ventured into the Tianqi Mountains were quite impressive. Your Excellency. Several ancient gods were standing respectfully in front of a black-robed masked figure. They all looked at him in admiration. The black-robed figure with the wicked mask was, of course, Jian Wushuang. A moment ago he had noticed a fierce fight was happening here, and he had come immediately. Working together with the other ancient gods, they beat the 4 human experts and forced them into fleeing. Among the 4 experts, the most powerful one had a battle strength at step 2 of the Eternal Realm. But Jian Wushuang easily overpowered him by unleashing merely 70% of his sword heart power and employing some of his offensive skills and swordsmanship, causing them to flee in disorder. If Jian Wushuang had performed the mind-controlling secret skill at the least expected moment, he could have caught 1 or 2 out of the 4 experts. However, he chose not to do that. These 4 were not from the 3 magnates but another top sect. 100 years ago, the 3 magnates had struck against him. As to the other 8 top sects, maybe they had considered taking him on, but none of them actually did. Thus, Jian Wushuang was not so determined to kill experts from the other 8 top sections. The experts of various sects in the Firmament territory are coveting the ancient god's essence, blood and baptismal pools. That's why they entered the Eternal Zone and started fighting. But the ancient god clan regards them as objects that they can use to hone their own skills. Further, they even deliberately placed several baptismal pools in the Tianqi Mountains to lure more experts in. No one can tell which of the two sides is justified. But given that the experts of the 8 top sects have never pissed me off, I see no reason to put them to death. Jian Wushuang pondered. Just at this moment, buzz, a peculiar energy fluctuation suddenly rippled in from afar. This strange energy spread far beyond the normal range, but it went quite furtively and did not cause any racket. Clansmen from the ancient god clan and the experts from other sects did not sense this energy fluctuation. But Jian Wushuang, a disciple of the ancient sect, detected it clearly. That's the ancient sect's emergency signal? His expression altered abruptly. He knew what the emergency signal of the ancient sect was like. Now he sensed this signal inside the Tianqi Mountains. It meant that the expert who sent this signal was in great danger, or even that he could die at any second. The expert sending the signal was hoping that other experts in the vicinity could go and help him at once. Your Excellency, what's wrong? Seeing the sudden change in Jian Wushuang's expression, the clansmen of the ancient god clan wanted to know what was wrong. You guys go on your adventures, no need to bother about me. Jian Wushuang replied. Then he leaped up and flew out. The clansmen stood gazing at one another. They were clever enough not to try and follow him. The source of the signal is not too far from here. At the speed I'm going, I can be there in 8 minutes. Jian Wushuang was grim-faced. He was flying towards the source of the signal at top speed. 8 minutes might be a short amount of time. But for real experts, a battle could end in just a second. It was more than enough time to allow two sides to fight several rounds. Jian Wushuang was not sure he could get there in time. But thanks to the good luck of the Palace Master Destruction and his lot, the direction they were heading for happened to be the direction Jian Wushuang was coming from. It didn't actually take 8 minutes, it was only a minute before he spotted them running furiously towards him. He also caught sight of the silver-armored ancient god who was chasing closely behind the Palace Master Destruction. The three are Palace Master Destruction, Palace Master Ming Xan, and Palace Master Mo Tao? Jian Wushuang's heart skipped a beat. He had been in the ancient sect long enough to know the Palace Master's strength. Among the 12 Palace Masters of the Dao Palace in the ancient sect, Palace Master Destruction was the most powerful one. He had a battle strength at the peak of Step 2 of the Eternal Realm and was even approaching Step 3. As for Palace Master Mo Tao, he was also at Step 2. And the last one, Palace Master Ming Xian, was a bit weak, but he was still at the peak of Step 1. The three of them should have been able to handle anything in the Tianqi Mountains, unless they were unfortunate enough to be besieged by a crowd of clansmen from the ancient god clan, or happened to run into Gu Heng, who was also wandering about in the Tianqi Mountains. Even if they met enemies that they could not fight off, they could always escape without effort. But now, even though the three palace masters had joined hands, they were being chased into a tight corner. Helplessly they had sent the emergency signal. A silver-armored ancient god? Jian Wushuang cast another glance at the silver-armored ancient god, who was following Palace Master Destruction and his lot closely. He was continuously narrowing the distance between them. His size and height were the same as that of a normal silver-armored ancient god from the ancient god clan. But at first glance, Jian Wushuang instantly realized that this silver-armored ancient god was not a member of the ancient god clan, it was a human expert. It was obvious that his aura did not belong to the ancient god clan. And there were two human figures following him at a distance. Jian Wushuang recognized that one of them was from the Cloud Sea Asgard. Cloud Sea Asgard experts dare to hunt down three ancient sect palace masters? Jian Wushuang's face darkened, flames of fury dancing in his eyes. Palace Master Destruction and the other two who were hastily running away were fuming as well. Yun Fan, the Cloud Sea Asgard is really going to turn against our ancient sect, isn't it? Palace Master Destruction snarled harshly. The silver-armored ancient god following behind Palace Master Destruction and his lot was Yun Fan, a great elder of the Cloud Sea Asgard. He was the only expert in the whole firmament territory who had managed to turn into a silver-armored ancient god. Among all the experts in the eternal realm of the firmament territory, his strength was second only to Xian Yi, and this was widely acknowledged. Humph! When he heard Palace Master Destruction snarl, Yun Fan just let out a snort. He did not slow down at all. 100 years ago, Xian Yi murdered our top 7 experts. Our Palace Master is a bit afraid of Xian Yi and unwilling to go against him. But this doesn't mean the Cloud Sea Asgard has forgotten what your ancient sect did to us. We have no fear of the rest of your experts. If anything, this is all Xian Yi's fault. Yun Fan's complexion was icy cold, immense killing intent was gushing out of his eyes. The Cloud Sea Asgard was prone to be tough and domineering. But when 7 of their experts in the Eternal Realm were murdered, they had been surprisingly silent. They didn't even file a complaint. This was not their style. But at this moment, the 3 palace masters and Yun Fan all noticed that a mysterious figure had suddenly emerged in the void ahead of them. Chapter 753, An Outburst of the Strongest Battle Strength. Chapter 753, An Outburst of the Strongest Battle Strength. Who's that? A demon god. Palace Master Destruction, Palace Master Mo Tao and Palace Master Ming Xang caught sight of Jian Wushuang, but they did not stop running. Jian Wushuang was standing motionlessly in the void, staring coldly at Yun Fan, who had transformed into a silver-armored ancient god. Is that Yun Fan, the great elder from the Cloud Sea Asgard? His mind was racing. It is said that aside from his master, Yun Fan is the most powerful Eternal Realm expert in the Firmament territory. His strength is at least at the peak of Step 3. Perhaps it's already at Step 4. No wonder he has driven Palace Master Destruction and the other 2 to flee in haste. He is stronger than any of the human Eternal Realm experts I've met before. Such being the case. Jian Wushuang squinted. A dark golden light flickered in his eyes. He activated his inside bloodline and his body started to grow at an incredible speed. A 15-meter-high gold-armored ancient god appeared, exuding blazing golden lights. A gold-armored demon god. Palace Master Destruction and the other 2 were stunned. They had been told that there were only a few gold-armored demon gods in the whole demon god clan, and they were the most powerful of all the demon gods. They had once fought with a gold-armored demon god, so they were perfectly aware of the terrible strength such a creature could possess. Although it seemed that the gold-armored demon god before them was only at the 1-star level, as they watched him turn into a demon god, they still shuddered with fear. He was way too big and strong. He was 15 meters tall. A 15-meter-high gold-armored demon god looked like a small mountain in their eyes. Behind them, the silver-armored demon god Yun Fan had turned into was only 5 meters high. When Jian Wushuang transformed into a gold-armored ancient god, his emperor sword also grew to 10 meters long. He held the sword in his hand. A majestic aura started to permeate to the surroundings. Fight! Jian Wushuang howled. His huge feet strode quickly forward. A series of heavy footsteps sounded. Each step carried enormous power. When he stomped, the void was distorted by his weight. He made one step after another. His aura grew increasingly thicker. The moment Palace Master Destruction and the other 2 who were busy escaping at top speed, saw the gold-armored ancient god galloping towards them, their expressions altered in terror. Palace Master Ming Xan was utterly petrified. What a dreadful, dreadful power. He is only a 1-star demon god, but the pressure he imposes on me is even more unbearable than that of the strongest 2-star silver-armored demon god I've ever met. What should we do? What should we do now? Palace Master Mo Tao lost his poise and started shouting in panic. Yun Fan, who had turned into a silver-armored demon god, was still chasing after them. And now a horrible gold-armored ancient god had appeared in front of them. Despair. Palace Master Mo Tao and Palace Master Ming Xn were gripped with anguish. We're screwed. Palace Master Destruction shouted. The 15-meter-high gold-armored demon god arrived in front of them. Shocked and terrified, Palace Master Destruction and the other 2 forgot to even defend themselves. But in the next second, something astonishing happened. The 15-meter-high gold-armored demon god was very close to them, but he seemed to have no intention of taking them on. He barely looked at them and passed by swiftly. What? How come? He. Their minds went numb for a moment. They had fought against demon gods many times. Whenever demon gods spotted them, they attacked without hesitation. However, this gold-armored demon god had just swept past them without even looking at them. How could that be? What was really going on? In fact, Yun Fan was just as startled. What the hell? His face turned grim. The gold-armored demon god didn't do anything to those 3 but is rushing towards me? Is it because I'm a human being transformed into a demon god? This gold-armored demon god hates me for this? Myriads of thoughts popped into Yun Fan's mind. But at this moment he had no time to figure it out, for Jian Wushuang was already in front of him. Secret skill, the Netherworld. Jian Wushuang held the Emperor's sword with both hands. The sword heart was shaking fiercely in his sea of consciousness. He released all of his power. His strength skyrocketed to the extreme. He quickly launched his most formidable secret skill. Jian Wushuang went all out on the first attack. Since his arrival in the Tianqi Mountains, Jian Wushuang had gone through several battles with Eternal Realm experts from various sects in the Firmament territory. But during these fights he had never fully demonstrated his power. In terms of sword heart power, he always kept a portion of it reserved. And he had never transformed into an ancient god to fight either. But now, he had turned into a gold-armored ancient god and unleashed the full power of his sword heart. Boom! A colossal sword light appeared. When Jian Wushuang put in all his strength, his mighty sword unleashed a stream of force that astounded the world like a starry sword river. Swoosh! The force shot toward Yun Fan with great momentum. The sky changed color and everything started to tremble. Although the sword attack had not reached its target yet, its frightening momentum was already whirling about, relentlessly squeezing the air and pressing against the vast earth below. Crack! On the ground below, cracks emerged one after another. Each of them was more than 300 meters in length. Bang! A rumble sounded. The entire earth sank a few meters under the impact of the terrifying momentum. At this point, Palace Master Destruction and the other two had already fled far from the battlefield, and so had the two experts from the Cloud Sea Asgard. But despite the distance, they could still feel the horrible power the sword light carried, and they all gasped. As for Yun Fan, he was the one the sword light targeted, so he distinctly felt its dreadful power. His face grew solemn. You're a gold-armored demon god? So what? You're just a 1-star. I am a 2-star silver demon god. Yun Fan bellowed. He was clenching a black stone staff, which suddenly grew to 3 meters long. It emitted an overbearing aura. As Yun Fan hoisted it up with his both hands, whiffs of world-devasting aura began to converge into it. Secret skill, Heaven Anthem. Suddenly, a clear and melodious voice reverberated throughout the area. The voice was beautiful, but it was also mingled with a trace of sorrow. It sounded like the music of lament. The music kept ringing. A towering stone staff streaked furiously across the sky. It was heading straight for Jian Wushuang. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.